And welcome back to Praggers Gaming. I'm Gamer Praggers, and this is Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode, we finished helping the other ships of the Flotilla, and now we're about to head back to Sol to let him know that we've got them all on board, pretty much. When you arrive at the bridge of the Pilgrim Seed, Sol is waiting for you. You wouldn't believe the messages that have come through in the past few cycles, Sleeper. He smiles. The ship from Steppe has sent a goodwill gesture, all cash and supplies from their own farms. He smiles. I'm not sure how we'll use them, but the gesture is a welcome one. Song, meanwhile, are apparently accepting supplies again, although a little reticently, if I may say so. Sol smiles. I don't expect them to change anytime soon. It should be said. And what I'm wondering, Sleeper, is what part you had in all of this. Sol eyes you, waiting for an answer. I helped where I could. I've come to expect that of you, Sleeper. He smiles. You look at Sol, his eyes bright and eager, and wonder what he sees in you. Are you a tool to be used, or an ally? It can be hard to tell. I want to show you something. Sol squeezes your shoulder, turning you to face the lift. He leads you along the axis of the ship, towards the engines, the clanking of his suit, accompanied by the constant hammering and welding that fills the echoey bulkheads of the Pilgrim Seed at all hours. With the cordon lifted and shuttles able to go out to salvage scrap and barter for supplies, the ship has become a place of transformation, moving towards some state yet to be revealed to you. You look at Sol. What is his plan here? What is he preparing the Pilgrim Seed for? Or are his sharp eyes simply focused on making it through the next cycle? Suddenly, Sol stops in front of a huge bulkhead door, like the seal on the front of a dry dock hangar. He signals to someone in a cabin high up, attached to the wall, and they begin the process of opening it up. The Pilgrim Seed was built as a short-range freight carrier, you know. The amber, warning lights on the bulkhead door send spinning shadows across Sol's face. We built it to ship the entire harvest from thousands of farms to the silos at Passerelle. Led the evacuation? Me? He laughs. Not even close. I was a farmer, had a whole load of land and people to run it, and my people helped convert this place for the long trip. He looks at his feet. Others led, organised the evacuation and debated the plan. Not one of those folks made it. Sol rubs his forehead. We were out in the black a long time before we got here, Sleeper. Things happened. The upshot is I was chosen to take over. I guess my crew trusted me, and I knew the ship. I argued, reminded them I'm no leader, and that I'm sick. But, well, when service chooses you. A loud klaxon sounds indicating the bulkhead doors are ready to open. They groan as they slide back, the metal squeals echoing through the vast ship, bouncing off its hard-plated walls. At first all you see is darkness, then the lights go on in huge strips that stretch back and back as far as you can see. The space in front of you, a vast bay, bigger than any you have ever seen, is empty. When we left Hearth, we didn't have the time or resources to convert the entire ship. Sol begins, leading you into the massive space. So much of the freight space was sealed away, shut down. But now we have time, we have resources, we stabilise here, at least for the moment. Sol turns to you. Now is the time we make use of all of this. What are you planning? What do you think happens next with the Eye, Sleeper? Sol's eyes. The flux has already hit one part of the station, and from what I know, it'll hit again. On Hearth, we lost everything. There isn't much time, Sleeper, but there is enough time to do something. Think of the number of people we can fit on here, the farming stacks, the housing. Hell, we can plant some of those mushrooms you love so much. This is the way forward, the only way. We need to fill this ship with able bodies and head for the starboard belt. I thought the Eye was your destination. It was until the flux hit here. Now it's just another stop. I'm glad of the chance to resupply and salvage, but we need to go further out. I want you to help me. You know the Eye, you have connections, and you can work hard. I've seen it. Soul meets your eye. I know you are like me, Sleeper. You didn't choose service, but it chose you. There are other ways. If you know them, go ahead, but I'm telling you, this is the opportunity we have now. I know it's a lot to think about, Sleeper, trust me. Sol begins to lead you back out of the bay, but think of what we can do here. The flotilla can't last forever. We need more than just farmers to make this work. We need to build a new world for ourselves. I've heard that out there in the belt there are people who have been setting up since the collapse, making something of their own. That's our future, tucked away in those rocks, far away from all of this. Sol sighs. I didn't bring my people here just to let them die somewhere new. Sol crosses back over the threshold of the bay and signals for the operator to close it up. The door groans and Sol waits for it to stop. Think about it, Sleeper. Sol claps an arm on your back. But don't wait too long. This is happening soon. He leaves you there, in the silence of this vast bay, your head spinning with the thought of leaving the Eye. Okay. Right. We'll grab the 3 points there. Okay, so we've got 2 cycles to wait. Oh! Episode Refuge complete. The second part of the Flotilla story is complete. Episode Purge, the final episode, will begin when the clock below is complete. Good luck. Peak is compiling their data on the flux to be presented to Sol or Helene. You get the sense they are dreading the choice. Oh. I mean, if I remember rightly, the sequel is called Starward Vector, and Sol mentioned Starward. Yeah, Starward Vector. Okay. So it's trying to work out how we... It sounds like we're leaving. Whether we go with the flotilla or with Bliss, I don't know. So while we're waiting... no, it's not in there. We need to head down here. Once this job is ready, you better be ready to make a fast decision. Stay with Moritz or go with Ankhita and Bliss. I mean, I'd like to hope... Amber looks better than she ever has before. Bliss has done an incredible job of cleaning up the hull, and despite the exterior changes being limited, she has the impression of being lighter, somehow sleeker than before. Moritz drifts by. He's been loading up the final equipment onto Amber. It turns out Ankhita will be taking her weapons, but packed and ready to sell at the first starward belt port she hits. But now that Moritz is done, he seems in a kind of daze, floating back and forth aimlessly. You okay, Moritz? What's that? He turns. Oh, right. Yeah. Packed and stacked. He smiles a weak smile. Was hoping Miss Cassetta would let me keep a warhead. For what? He shrugs. I don't know. This might be a cool thing to have around. Hey, Sleeper. He looks down. Did you know Bliss was leaving? You understand now. She told him. That's why he's like this. I did. He nods distractedly. She said this place is mine. He looks up around the bay, but it's suddenly some vast space he doesn't know what to do with. Can you manage it? He looks down at you, a glazed look on his face. I don't know. I just don't know. A dark look suddenly crosses his face. Hey, Sleeper, there was something Bliss said. He meets your eye. Are you going too? Before you can answer, Ankhita glides into the bay, a massive crate on her shoulder. Sleeper, you coming or what? Bliss is already on board. She stops by the terminal, holding herself in place. Moritz looks at her with a dazed expression. You look at Ankhita. She's keeping it together now. She's packed all those bad feelings down someplace where you'll never see them, and built a tough foundation on top. She may not be a mercenary anymore, but you imagine most people would think twice before trying to cross her. Well, she looks at you. I'm not eager to spend another moment of my time on this station unless I have to. She pauses, looking between you and Moritz. She sighs. I'll give you a minute. And she kicks off with the crate, taking it to the end of the bay where the amber sits docked. You look back at Moritz. I'm staying. Moritz looks like he might pass out. Sleeper? Are you sure? Are you doing this for me? I'm staying for me. And the Flotilla. Moritz nods. Alright then, you're staying. He grins. Ankhita comes back across the bay, the final crate stowed. You stay in then, Sleeper? That's right. She nods. Well, okay then. One less mouth to feed. She pauses. Look, Sleeper, I'm not going to go back over everything that happened. She sighs. I'm trying to put that behind me. But I hope you find what you're looking for here. She smiles, kicks off, gliding to the ambergris and the starboard belt beyond. You both watch in silence as Amber's drives fire up. I guess this is our place now, says Moritz, the weight of everything suddenly hitting him. Your place. He smiles. Okay, but I'll need some help from time to time. You both stay for a while to watch Amber and Bliss and Ankhita leave, and then Moritz goes to the racks to finally implement a new organisational system, and you head out, promising to be back to check on things soon. As you glide around the soft curve of the hub, you catch glimpses of the distant stars flickering through the windows. They are beautiful, it's true, but by now you think of them as a distraction. In your time on the Eye, you've realised there's nothing out there waiting for you, no fresh starts and no bright futures, just a whole load of problems you haven't found yet. No, your place is here, among the people you know and the problems you know. You wish Ankhita and Bliss the best of luck out in the belt, but as you do, you focus on the Eye, on the vast spinning rim that rotates around its hub, on its buildings and flashing lights, on its people and places. This is your home, and for now, it contains all the futures you need. And there's the credits. next round is yours. Moritz arrives at the table with a couple of steel drink canisters, typical of the hub's only bar, the Gimbal Lounge. He settles into the webbing beside the table and clunks them down onto the magnetic table. This place, you have decided, is ridiculous. A rapidly spinning cavernous sphere, the Gimbal's weak gravity is just like the gravity at the eye's rim. It's created by its gut-wrenching rotation. The interior surface of the sphere is the Gimbal's floor, which descends towards the equator, where one long bar loops around the entire circumference. Tumbling out from that central ring are an array of booths and seating arrangements equipped with all kinds of harnesses and webbing to keep customers in place. Those harnesses are there because the gimbal doesn't quite spin up fast enough. And you watch as the clientele bounces towards the bar in lazy arcs, or shift from table to table with graceful leaps. "What are you thinking?" asks Moritz, noticing you staring out into the gimbal. How weird this place is. Moritz glances around as if for the first time. Yeah, Bliss never used to like coming here. Moritz takes a drink and stretches. "So, Sleeper, you sticking around?" "I have things to take care of." Moritz nods. "Yeah, thought you might." Moritz rubs the back of his head. "One cycle at a time. That's how we'll take it. Nice and easy." You aren't sure if he's talking to himself or you. "So let's start already." Alright. Moritz laughs. He lifts his drink for a toast to the next cycle, he pronounces, and knocks it back. Later, when you finally leave the gimbal, Moritz is still laughing. You help him out of the spinning gimbal and back into the hub, sending him on his way home to the bay. Then you pause for a moment to watch the stars as they spin and spin around the eye. You smile to yourself and think of Bliss and Ankhita out there somewhere among those points of light. To the next cycle. Okay, right. Now, we do have something to do first. Let's just do that. Oh, efficient extractor, we get a random scrap item. Interesting. Right. For now, we're going to head down because we need to rest. So we're going to come here, feed the stray, obviously. Self-repair, so we keep the 5 stars. Okay, so if we head up to Bliss, well, it's not Bliss's bay, it's Moritz's bay. We'll add a 3. Do we get a component each time? No. Okay. So descend to the rim and then we'll head back over. Let me just... Yeah, we got one more cycle. So we will gather scrap. Like that. And then Briar Base Camp. Yeah. We can self-repair and end the cycle and then go and see what Peak wants. We're starving. That's better. Oh. Sleeper. Peak is waiting for you in the corridor. It's time. Peak looks pale and dishevelled, with heavy marks under their eyes and strands of hair sticking to their face. I'm ready. Peak holds up a thumbnail-sized drive. All the data I have compiled on the Flux event, the effects of the wave and the structures that hide within it, it's on here. You look at the tiny drive, a casket of dark secrets. I've annotated it to the best of my ability. Anyone should be able to understand the threat, the potential in this. Peak sighs. It makes for grim reading. Without intervention, the Eye will suffer a cascading collapse of systems. It's like the colonies of Ember's moon. Intervention? I'm still working on. Peak looks at the drive. This shadow in the flux, this protocol, is so hard to pin down it adapts to any countermeasure I have tried to deploy. It's like it's trying to hold water in a cage. It slips straight through. There has to be a way. Pete closes their hand around the drive. We need help, Sleeper. This is about everyone on the station, they sigh. We have to set up a meeting to tell someone who can do something about all this. Helene? Perhaps. Pete pauses. If anyone can protect the Eye, it's Havenage, but their internal politics will make it hard for them to act. Will they even listen to us? Or perhaps... Peak adds thoughtfully, we've been thinking about this all wrong. Peak's eyes glint. Why make a choice when you can tell both of them? Why pick a side when the only side in this entire thing is one we all need to take? Peak speaks as they think, their words barely keeping pace with their thoughts. We need to resist this together, or we will fail. We need everyone on board, Sleeper. Peak smiles. That is the only way. We send the data to both. You're right. I'm glad you see it too. They look away. Another Flux event is coming, I'm sure of it, and I'm not sure we can survive without help. Peak opens their hand and holds the drive out for you to take. You need to do this, Sleeper. I can't. You know Sol, you know Helene. They trust you. To them I'm just another spacer, but you are a part of this place. Hearing someone else say it hits you hard. You are a part of the Eye, Peak is right, but right now, that feels more like a weakness than a strength. I've set up a data relay at the cordon. It's neutral ground. Take the data and send it out to Havenage and the Flotilla. Once they receive it, they will come. We can be sure of that. You will meet them there and take them through it all. No one can do a better job. They tuck a strand of hair behind their ear. Come with me. Peak pauses. I can't. It would only draw suspicion on you. Havenage want nothing to do with us, and Sol is paranoid at best. Peak tentatively puts a hand on your shoulder. Thank you, Sleeper. I know this is hard, but we have to move forward. We can't keep this to ourselves anymore. They step back, looking thin and pale in the harsh station light. Come talk to me once it's done. And they slip away into the Eye. Okay. Warning, final episode. Once you send the data, episode Purge and the final series of events on the Eye will begin. After this point, you will not be able to return to complete other drives or find other endings. Make sure you are ready. Well, we have finished everything else. Okay, so we do have all 5. So let's start Purge. With the data sent, the only thing to do is wait. As you do, you imagine Helene receiving the data, perhaps in the middle of some Havenage council meeting. You think of her trembling hands as she slips out of the room to read it. Her reaction, you can't predict. You imagine Sol, too. One of his crew finding him in some corner of the Pilgrim Seed, overseeing the modifications that will turn it into an Ark. Those sharp eyes scanning the data, looking for a way to proceed. The wait draws out, and to pass the time you watch the activity beyond the edge of the Eye, the scrap shuttles pulling components from the now abandoned cordon, and the supply skiffs making runs between the flotilla ships. It isn't long before you hear the chirping of one of Helene's now familiar drones approaching the viewing platform, and then Helene herself strides into the room. Where did you get the Sleeper? Helene holds up a slate scrolling with streams of flux data as she enters. I need to know your source. Hello to you too. You didn't bring me here for a reunion, I assume? Helene smiles a thin smile. Then you'll forgive me for skipping the pleasantries. She pauses and pushes her hair back out of her face. This is a lot to take in. A shadow protocol inside the flux? The system's CAN channel starting up? A total collapse of the eye? She rubs her forehead. If I bring this to the council, they'll... She turns away. Do you know what's been happening within Havenage, Sleeper? She looks away out at the flotilla. Since the refugee ship started arriving, things have changed. It's chaos. No one can settle on a single issue. There is division at every vote. But in the division, only one group prospers, the hardliners. Because as each councillor gets tired of the arrangements, gets tired of compromise, they become more attracted to the easy answers. The flotilla is to blame. The refugees are opportunists. The eye must be defended. She shakes her head. And now you're telling me they brought something to the eye that will cause its collapse? They didn't bring it. It doesn't matter, Sleeper. That is all the councillors will hear. She closes her eyes, a hard hand to her temple. Many of them already presume that the refugees are somehow to blame. Did someone say refugees? Sol clanks into the docking bay, grinning at the situation. Speak of the devil, and well, here I am. His suit hisses as he settles on his cane. Helene glances between the two of you, uncertain if she has been drawn into some elaborate plan. Not yet. Sol holds out a hand to her. Sol, he nods. I believe we have spoken remotely while the cordon was still up. We are all allies here. Sol raises an eyebrow. That seems a little presumptuous, doesn't it? I trust you, Sleeper. But Havenage have been the ones seeking to hold us without charge, or good reason. I'm not Havenage, Helene blurts out, then corrects herself. What I mean to say is, no one person represents Havenage. That's the idea. I did not support the cordon, and I did not support your quarantine. Sol nods. Well then. Sol glances at you. Anyone mind if I get myself up to speed here? He pauses, but you get the feeling he isn't expecting an answer. 1. The Flux events, the very same destabilizing waves that collapsed the colonies on the moons of Ember, have reached the station. He holds up a stubby finger. 2. According to data Sleeper provided, these events are acting as cover for some kind of intrusive protocol which is causing the real damage. A second finger joins the first. 3. The Shadow Protocol will do the very same thing it did to Ember's song, step, and half, and quickly. In short, it'll shut down everything keeping this place alive. A third finger pops up. 4. And this is my favourite. We have no idea who or what is doing this and why. Sol's final finger joins the other 3. Is that about the total of it? There's also another Flux event coming. Of course there is. Sol smiles thinly. Sounds... Helene pauses, searching for words. Intimidating. Helene turns to Sol. Did you manage to put up any kind of resistances on Ember's hearth? Sol shakes his head. That's why we're here. The Pilgrim Seed was the biggest ship to make it out unscathed. He pauses. I suppose we didn't have this data. We didn't know what was eating up the systems. We all thought it was the Flux. Helene looks at you. And I imagine you, Sleeper, and whoever helped you uncover this, might be able to figure out a countermeasure. We can try. Helene nods approval. Okay, so that's the start of it. If you'll forgive me, Sol cuts in. Part of why I was able to save as many as I could on Ember's hearth was that I gave up hope early. Sol shifts his weight, his suit hissing. There were endless strategy meets, system reboots, tests and trials, but I just got on with working on the Pilgrim Seed, with getting people on board, and when the second and the third and the rest of the Flux events hit, we were ready to go. So if I can offer you some advice, Miss Not Havenage, it is to give up on that line of thought you have, that hope, and to start the evacuation now, right this cycle. Sol looks out of the observation deck towards the Pilgrim Seed. I've already started the process of converting the remaining volume of the Pilgrim Seed for human habitation. With Havenage's resources, I dare say we could finish the job with time to spare. Sol scratches at his beard. I know it's hard, and I know it's sudden, but you have to give up hope. We have to run. There will be no heroes here, and just those that keep living and those that don't. Helene listens in silence, making calculations. She looks out at the bulk of the Pilgrim Seed, which, despite all its vastness, is dwarfed by the eye as a whole. Something flickers in her eyes. She opens her mouth to speak. She stops, frozen. Let me think. Helene rubs her temple. I need a moment. Helene paces, and as you watch her, you realise how young she is, and how lost she is in the systems and protocols she has to navigate. You can almost see the strings and ties that bind her, glinting like webs in the wide space of the observation platform. Oh, really? we actually have to make a choice. Well, I'm going to do it. I will put a poll on the community tab. And we're going to decide together. There'll be a poll on the tab. There'll be a poll on in the Discord. I might put one up on X as well. I don't know. But for now, thank you for hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, ticking the bell so you know when new videos go live. In the description is a link to the channel Discord. Feel free to come and talk about the games you're playing, the games I'm playing, games in general. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.